Hello YouTube, my name is Geert van Gille and I would like to talk to you about two recording devices, the Zoom H1 and the Tascam DR05. On YouTube you can find plenty of comparisons between these handheld recorders, but none of them talk about a specific feature that for many people can be a deal breaker. I found out that it was for me, and I'll explain this further, but first of all I want to clarify how I use these recorders. I'm a classical musician, and for that sake I like to have a recording device with which I can record my concerts without any hassle. The last thing I want to do during the preparation of a performance is having to think about recording issues. I want to keep my focus on my coming performance, and for that purpose, the fewer distractions, the better. I've tried a lot of different options in the past. I've been recording my own concerts for decades, starting with a DAT Walkman in the early 90s. The latest devices I like to use are the recent Tascam handheld recorders, and I will explain further why I prefer these over the Zoom H1 and other similar devices. In a way, the Zoom H1 is a terrific device. With its one-button operation, its small footprint and ease of use. When it comes down to the actual sound of the microphones and the preamps, I even think the H1 is a little bit more neutral in its sound capturing compared to the Tascam, but this will show up only in a very tight A-B comparison. The Tascam, on the other hand, is a bit more complicated in use because of the fact that it has a lot more possibilities under the hood. So you can consider this a drawback, but the good news is that once everything is set, the operation becomes a simple one-button operation, similar to the H1. Now, under normal circumstances, I would be inclined to choose the H1 over the Tascam, but the Tascam has a trick up its sleeve that, to my feeling, makes it superior, and that's hardly ever discussed in all the reviews online. Here it is. The Tascam makes it really simple to accurately set the gain to perfection without the use of the auto gain setting, which for acoustical music is a pretty dreadful setting anyway. By the way, setting the gain means setting up the device in such a way that the microphones capture the sound perfectly. If the microphones capture the sound too softly, the result will be a lot of hiss, which will obscure the recorded signal. If the gain is set too loudly, the result will be that the loudest parts of the signal will distort in an awful crackling, which destroys basically your entire recording. Now, how does the Tascam get this job done? Well, actually, it decreases the gain gradually so the peaks will not distort. And how is this different from auto gain, I hear you say? Well, auto gain is a setting where the device decides for you how loud everything needs to be, and because of this it will make soft passages louder and loud passages softer. The result is an audible pumping of the gain, and the actual result will sound like somebody is constantly turning the volume knob up and down. Pretty awful for acoustic music, and actually I find it pretty awful for any kind of music. Now, how does the Tascam set the gain? By getting into a pretty easy submenu, which is called the level control, you can choose the setting peak reduction. This will gradually reduce the gain until no distortion occurs. And it does this automatically while you are performing a test by playing the loudest passage of your concert repertoire, for instance. After having done this, you then set the recorder back to its normal recording mode, and without any further fussing, your recording will have the optimal gain setting, or in other words, the best signal-to-noise ratio. In comparison, the gain of the H1 has to be set manually, which most of the time means that to be on the safe side, you have to set it quite low in order to prevent distortion. This fact alone of setting the gain too low will make the recording of the H1 less in quality compared to the perfect gain setting of the Tascam, And on top of this, the Tascam has an easy limiter setting in the same level control submenu. This will further limit any peaks that may occur. In case your actual live signal will be louder than the signal that you played during your test at forehand, the limiter will take care of those extra peaks. Now the H1 doesn't have such a limiter setting altogether. So that's about it. I hope this was helpful for you. Please check out my other videos on comparing two Tascam handheld recorders, the DR05 and the DR40. And more videos will be posted on this channel about different aspects of recording acoustical instruments. Feel free to check them out. Have a great day!